Last week, I got some really exciting news that a paper we had submitted to ICRA, the International Conference on Robotics and Automation, had been accepted for publication. This is the first paper that I will have made a significant contribution to, and so it's a really exciting milestone for me to have reached in my PhD program. I just started my PhD last year, so getting into research has been a little bit of an uphill battle, and this is a really, really exciting outcome for all of the hard work that's gone into the last 12 months. I'm also really excited about this because I will actually be going to the conference. So this will be my first time going to a robotics conference and getting to present. It occurred to me that this is a perfect opportunity to share with you on this channel what it looks like when you get your acceptance and/or rejection when you submit a research paper. So rejection is a normal part of the academic process. It happens to all of us at some point, and I'm sure at some point in the future I'll be sharing a rejection video with you. But today we're going to celebrate this acceptance, and I'm going to show you what it takes to get your final paper ready for submission. So when you get your decision letter from your submission, you'll have a submission number that goes along with the paper that you submitted, or the manuscript as it's often called. You will get an email like this from the PaperPlaza Conference Journal Management System. It's our pleasure to inform you that your paper has been accepted for presentation at the 2025 IEEE International Conference on Robotics and Automation. In this email, there are specific dates to keep in mind, and the big one is your final paper submission and author registration deadline. So you do need to register for the conference as an author and submit your final paper version. Okay, in this email, there will also be a link to PaperPlaza where you will be submitting your final version of your ICRA paper. So you can actually see the reviews are attached to this email. So if you pull up the text file that's attached to your email, it'll have the whole review. I'll show you the other one as well here. But then I'll also show you how to access these on PaperPlaza, which is where you would submit the paper in the first place. So I already opened this tab and I'm just going to skip over to it and get logged in so I can show you what it looks like. It is a very outdated looking UI. So this is the PaperPlaza Conference Journal Management System. This is for IEEE Robotics and Automation Society. These are some popular journals and upcoming conferences here. And then there's actually quite a long list of other conference venues that you can take a look at to see if the research that you've done is a good fit for any one of these conferences that you can submit to via PaperPlaza. IROS and ICRA are two of the big conferences I'm familiar with, but one of my labs also submits considerable amount of research to Roman. So I have to log in. Okay, and now I am on my page. So you'll go down to this tab where it says access a workspace. When you come down to this workspace, you can see I have an ICRA 2025 link here to access the registration site. I also have one to enter as the proposer of submission 1204, which is the submission that we made. And then I have another place to go as the reviewer of submissions. So I was actually asked to review multiple papers that were submitted to this venue. So these are those submission numbers for the papers that I reviewed. And that is part of the peer review process. So let's go to my page as the author and proposer. Here you'll see I have the option to submit a final version of the paper until March 6th. You can go to choose an option and then inspect reviews and decision letter. Okay, so when you scroll down, this is the cover message. That is what came in the email. Then you have some comments to the author from the associate editor. And in addition to that, you have your reviews of the submission. I want to point out something really great about the feedback that we got in this review. So this first reviewer who read this paper gave section-specific comments on the paper, which is so helpful for me as the person doing the revisions on the paper when I need to figure out where in the paper I need to make changes based on the reviewer feedback. This was a really helpful review that someone gave of this paper. It was clear that they read it in depth and they pointed out many different places in the paper where We made some assumptions about the knowledge that the reader would have, and this reviewer also called out many of the places where we needed further clarification and less ambiguity in our description. The section-specific comments were super helpful for me. I was going over these today, and it's so easy to see exactly where this reviewer was finding some confusion with our writing because they had labeled the sections so specifically. This second review was less helpful in terms of what we could do, but still a useful review. It wasn't as specific as the first review, and I focused a lot on these first reviewer comments in revisions. So let me show you what one of my colleagues showed me, which is a great way to address the comments in reviews in a systematic way so that you don't miss something valuable. What my colleague showed me was that he would just copy all of these comments and put them into a Google Sheet. So in the Google Sheet, next to each comment, there would be some type of status for that comment. So red is something that won't get addressed. Blue is something I'm not sure about and I want to further discuss it with colleagues or potentially with my PI and see if there's anything we should do about that. Orange is a maybe change, maybe not, depending on space limitations of the paper. ICRA is a pretty short paper format, so space is at a premium, and sometimes some details can't be included because they just aren't important enough to merit their inclusion in the submission. So that's something that an orange would indicate. And then green are all things that will be addressed. And I basically fill these in as I go through the paper and make the changes. So once I've actually addressed all these things, I'll go ahead and mark these squares green and say, I introduced them, here's the change I made. So once I've gone through all of these review comments, then I have my final version in Overleaf ready to go. I can send that to my collaborators on the paper to get their final thoughts on the revised version. And sometimes I also link this spreadsheet where it shows them what I addressed and what I didn't address so that they can look for specific areas of the paper that they haven't seen before. Okay, I hope that was helpful, and maybe there's something that you can use for your submissions or your reviews in the future. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next one.